Welcome back to the Marriage Lab. I want to talk about marriage counseling, regular counseling, and the best advice that I got from just a regular counselor, actually, and how it could possibly benefit you. I definitely want to start stepping into more marriage centric, marriage advice type videos because there's not a lot of guys talking about marriage and the benefits of marriage. And I acknowledge that there's a lot of negatives for marriage, especially nowadays, but at the same time I feel like people are kind of short-sighted when it comes to looking for a good mate. So, marriage advice, me or marriage counseling. My wife and I did marriage counseling before we did individual counseling, and I don't know. I guess we're kind of boring. The counselor that we had, he seemed very uninterested in our relationship, in what we were doing, and all that kind of stuff. And I guess rightfully so. We're pretty boring people, and I mean boring in like a good way. Like we don't argue a lot. We don't fight. There's no issues with money or and my wife is not the kind of woman who she's not big on like material things. No like new purses or shoes or like I think this is the first year she's actually asked me to buy her something consistently. And it's just like, house dresses basically. But my wife is not a money type of lady, which I appreciate. But a lot of the things that we just wanted some extra advice when it came to any conversation that we had. Like I said, we don't have arguments. We just kind of talk, and we just wanted some advice. And he seemed very uninterested. Now, I don't want to shy you away from marriage counseling. I think marriage counseling is great. We got a little bit of counseling from my wife's cousin, who is a chaplain. That's like a military, like pastor, sort of. Um, I think he's either in the Coast Guard or the Navy. I'm not too sure. I know that sounds weird, but I'm not too sure. I think he swapped branches a few times. But he did a little bit of counseling with us. Um, but we've never been the type to like really hold arguments or hold grudges or anything like that, or be angry at each other for more than, you know, an hour, something like that. Like, we've never been that kind of couple. Um, but I would say, especially during our early years, whenever we did get counseling from other people, as well as counseling from family members and friends and people who were already married, we really held that advice and we took it to heart. Which I think a lot of people, and I'm gonna say this doesn't sound mean, but a lot of y'all are selfish. Like, marriage is not about being selfish. You do not get happiness from just being married. Marriage is not about you. I'm going to say that again. Marriage is not about you. I told my wife and her niece the other day, if I did not have my purpose, I wouldn't be here. And my purpose is not my job. My purpose is not what I love to do. My purpose is my wife and my child. It is my job to make sure that both of them are taken care of. They have a roof over their head. They're safe. You know, all the other things that come with being a man of the house. I want to make sure that's taken care of. And that is my selfless part of this marriage. I'm not in the marriage for me. Not to say that I didn't want to be with my wife, but understanding that marriage isn't a you thing. It's about understanding another person, wanting to be with another person, sacrificing things for that other person. It seems like, we heard all these jokes back in the day about ball and chain, but in reality, and I've heard this so much lately, there's a freedom in servitude. And that sounds weird, but it's like to know that you can do whatever not whatever, but know that you can do things to, make your life better, make your life good, but there's under a certain amount of rules, it's a good thing. And as you can see from the US nowadays, we have a lot of freedoms, and that freedom comes with consequences. Consequences where everybody thinks that they can just do whatever they want, and things kind of go crazy. So anyway, I'm gonna back off of that. I recommend marriage counseling. Marriage counseling is great. Understanding the selfless acts of love and appreciation, and just telling your spouse or showing your spouse that you care. It may take you a while. That's okay. We're still learning. We're still trying. There's times where I mess up still, and that's okay. We made a vow in front of our family and our friends and God that we would do whatever it is necessary to stay together, and we've stuck to that point. It's been a long time. We've been together for what is it, 13 years? Something, I can't even remember. It's been a long time. We've been together since high school, so you can make it work. You just have to realize it's not about you. If you can make the other person happy, they will make you happy. That's how the dynamic rolls. But moving on from that, personal counseling. Personal counseling was great. I really appreciated having a personal counselor. So the story goes, after we did our marriage counseling, which didn't even last long, we did a couple lessons and realized that, and this is another thing, you may not have a counselor that works for you, and that's okay. You can say, hey, this person wasn't working. And some people say that and they don't ever go back to counseling, but don't give up. Look for another counselor and try them. There's just like, different people that do different styles of hair, or, different foods or cakes, restaurants. There's different counselors that handle marriage counseling in different ways. So I recommend trying a couple different counselors to see, who you really like, who you vibe with. And it may be that one person doesn't like this counselor, but the other person does. Don't make that an argument. Come to an agreement, of course, that you can find one that works. But my personal counselor was helping me get through some things from years ago when I was deployed. Things from my childhood, just a lot of different things. She really helped me process and understand myself, and work through those things, and learning to continue to work through those things. And I think I was with her for 3-4 months, something like that. We had one session per week, sometimes two, but it really helped out. And eventually she asked me about, our marriage and how things were going. And I told her it was pretty good. We had kind of had some rough points in the last year, but other than that, it was pretty good. So she said, she asked us how we argue, if we do argue. And I told her that I don't really like to argue, so I'll just kind of stop talking and I'll sit there. And sometimes, my wife will kind of ask me why I'm not answering or whatever, and I just can't. I can't answer at the moment. And come to find out, that's called stonewalling, and it doesn't really help the situation, because your spouse may think you're not interested in answering, or you don't want to engage anymore, which is disheartening for them. So she recommended that, and this was like the best advice I think that I've gotten in a long time. Whenever you're having a disagreement, just let your wife or your spouse, your husband or your wife, know that you hear what they're saying. Repeat it back if you have to understand, and then tell them that at the moment you don't want to answer the wrong way. So can you pause the conversation and come back to it once everybody's calmed down, and then you can kind of see things from a different side. Maybe she was right, maybe he was right, maybe I came on too strong. Um, you know, obviously, when you come back and sit down, think about how you said something. Did you say it in a negative way or in a mean way? Did you say something on purpose to try to hurt your spouse? Um, I was like, you know what? That's really good, because a lot of the time I'll sit and think like maybe I said something wrong, and I would apologize anyway. Um, because obviously, like, I want to make sure that my wife feels heard and safe when we're, having this conversation. Like, I'm not going to say something that's going to purposely hurt her. So I thought that was great advice. I shared that with my wife. I don't know if she remembers that, but as like I said, we don't really have a lot of arguments. So, but it was still like some of the best advice, because it really helps me to stop and think about what I'm about to say and how I'm about to answer. And even sometimes I'll answer too quick and I'll have to go back and think like, man, I said that kind of harsh. Next time, let me slow myself down, think about how I'm saying it, and then, say it in a different way. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I think that is some of the best advice you can have that will kind of dissipate a lot of the issues that people have in arguments. And then also, don't don't get to the point where you hate your husband or your wife. When I mean that, or like you have disdain for them. Like, if you're arguing, if you're mad and you're just like, oh, I don't want to see you right now, like, you're saying stuff that's hurtful and it's harmful, not only to them but to yourself, because now they're going to start to feel like you don't want to see them, you don't want to be with them. There was a little it's a commercial or a meme or whatever that I saw the other day, where this woman was like, why are you giving her your time, or what does she have that I don't? And then he expressed to her, like, she treats me good, she talks to me good, she actually gives me respect. Like, there's a lot of things that he said in that moment. And it's like, really truly, a man only wants a couple of things in a marriage. And a woman, of course, she wants a couple of things too. But from a man's side, it's pretty simple. We want love and sex, essentially. Uh, Love meaning, just some affection whenever we need it. Um, which actually, funnily enough, there's a verse in the Bible that talks about um, not denying your spouse sex, because it makes both of you feel good. It lets your wife know that she's wanted, and it lets the husband know that you still want him as well, which is a very huge ordeal uh, in today's marriages, I think. So anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. That's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked, please drop a like down below. Comment down below if you guys have heard any of this advice before. And yeah, I'll see you down there. Take care. Peace.